All right, welcome back to MMA Dynasty podcast number four. I think
Five, five, five.
five, podcast five, milestone. And
Milestone,
I
let's
just got
go.
to say that last night was a great night of fights. We have a lot of news to discuss this upcoming week. And how was your night? I know you went out to where did you watch the fights?
I actually watched the fights at a movie theater. First time ever
Damn.
doing it.
Okay.
A movie theater where they served you when you're sitting down and everything. It was honestly amazing. And you end up paying less for the like a ticket there than like paying for the pay-per-view. So it was definitely worth it. If you haven't done, I recommend
How much?
doing
How
that.
much were the tickets? So less? Was it still more expensive than like a regular movie?
It was like $30 a ticket.
Which
So
okay, that's honestly
yeah.
pretty good. I
So
would
it was very good, especially if it's you go with a friend or something, you're
yeah.
paying only $60 versus like 74 or for the pay-per-view. So I would say it's definitely worth it. And then you can get food there and everything. So it was a great time. Everybody was going crazy for the Brandon Moreno knockout.
For real. When he body
Everyone was
kicked,
going crazy.
yeah, bro.
A lot of
I'm
Brandon Moreno
surprised, man.
fans.
Were there a lot of Latinos in the mix?
Yeah, I think so. I think so because everyone was like, let's go Mexico
Yeah, of
and stuff like
course.
that. So it
Bro,
was
I just want to say I posted a recap of the Brandon Moreno Kai Car France, and I mentioned that the stadium was like filled with Mexicans.
yeah, that's
And I had
awesome.
some guys commenting like, "Really, bro? Filled with what? What did you say, bro? Filled with Mexicans, bro?" And I was like, "Bro, shut the fuck up." Honestly, I didn't even want to go at him. It was just one of those things that like I can't actually. I don't know if they were being serious, but I'm happy for Brandon Moreno. He got it done in Texas, KO'd Kai Kara France brutally on the ground after a nasty body kick. As we know, that could just win at you, but in front of all of his home, well, not all of his countrymen. I know a lot of people there are of Mexican descent. They may have not, been born in Mexico, but a lot of them have been born in Mexico. And it's like, Mexico part two, and Brandon Moreno delivers. I'd love to see him fight Figueiredo in Brazil. I'd love to see
Yeah.
that go down. But before we get into that, first of all, shout out to Brendan Moreno. You made your fucking country proud by now. It's the second time he's at a belt. Beautiful thing. What did you eat? Because I don't know if for people that don't know, I'm getting ready for a bodybuilding show for my first ever bodybuilding show, and my calories are extremely low. I'm eating about 1,400 calories a day right now,
Holy
zero
sh-
carbs. Yeah, 1,400 calories, zero carbs. And I'm fucking dreaming about food. So I want to hear, Jacob, what
Okay,
did you
I
eat
damn.
at the theater, bro? Tell me.
So at the theater, I ended up getting fish and chips. Actually, it was pretty
Fish
good.
and chips. Holy shit.
Fish and chips. Yeah,
Good option for
I
for
just
an
got off a
American at the
diet
movie
also,
theater.
not anything near your diet, but I got off a 4 month long cut. So I'm also getting back into the stage where like everything like tastes amazing, you know what I mean? Like just craving absolutely
Yeah.
everything. So that was really nice to have. And like today, actually, I ended up getting a drink before the podcast, an energy drink because I wanted to be awake for the
Yeah.
podcast.
What'd you
And
get?
I ended up getting one of those rains. And I remember during my podcast, no, during my cut, these things just tasted absolutely amazing.
Dude, they're
And
so
then when
good.
I
I
taste
love
it,
the
when I taste it now, I'm like, this thing's kind of shit, you know?
Oh
Like,
yeah, honestly, the same thing with me and Zevia. I'm always drinking my fucking Zevia. The way that, hold up. I've got a Zevia right here in my hand right now. But I won't touch these as soon as I stop cutting hardcore. I won't touch these in the winter. I won't touch these when I'm not dieting at all. I just have no reason to. But I'm
no,
telling you, man, these are godsend. The only issue is when you're this deep in the cut and you're on 1,400 calories and you're literally thinking about food all day, those Zevias go down like that. Meaning I could finish one of those without thinking about it in 1 minute max. I'm done with the can, which
jeez.
I got to slow it down because it's just after a while you're gonna be spending a fucking $100 a day on Zevia. So, um, I am thoroughly jealous that you got to have fucking fish and chips, bro, with some fries. But I'll get that. The food will always be around. The food is always going to be here. So I'm looking forward to it. The thing that I'm craving the most when my bodybuilding show is over is a nice big Italian sandwich. And I'm also craving some chocolates and bagels, cream cheese, and salmon. I'm craving that, bagels and lox. So,
Bagels,
um,
bagels.
let's get into the card a little bit. I thought honestly, I mean, like, listen, this is no surprise. The card was awesome. The main card delivered. Finishes on every single fight except the main event. You know what? I wasn't unhappy with the fact that there wasn't a finish in the main event, but man, that card went by so quickly.
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh.
we had a third round TKO in the Moreno and Kai Kara France fight. We had a second round TKO for the first fight on the main card, a first round submission. We had a first round TKO. So many fucking fast fights. And then the main event was obviously entertaining. Amanda Nunes just destroyed Juliana Pena. Juliana Pena, what a fucking warrior. I mean, the fact that she was able to survive, I think she got knocked down 5 times, and they were brutal knockdowns. I mean, I don't know about you, but I thought that fight was going to be stopped. I thought there was no way that Juliana Pena was going to make it to the final bell. I mean, bro, Amanda was cracking her. I mean, loading up and cracking her. While moving back, there was one shot that he hit her with, that Amanda hit her with. She was moving back, threw a big right hand to counter Juliana Pena. And honestly, I thought that would have been it. But man, she took a lot of damage. Um, Fought back, threw up some submissions. Great main event. I know we're always saying that the women's fights are very slow. However, we never predicted this to be a boring fight. I think we knew they were going to go to bang. That's just the stylistic matchup, and we fucking saw it. And I'm happy that we saw it. Great card overall. Honestly, I was really happy with it. It went by fast. All the fights were bangers. Great card. The prelims, early prelims, were all right. They weren't great, but once it got to the main card, incredible.
Yeah. I agree with you. The first like 4 fights literally went by in like the span of like it felt like was like 30 minutes, but and then it was just literally finish after finish, like starting with the Magomedov
Magomed Ankalaev.
Ankalaev versus Anthony Smith, where Magomedov finished him on the ground. Anthony Smith seemed like, I mean, he said he broke his foot or his leg. It seemed like he was trying to like check a kick or something. His leg completely broke. So he's just tried like just wrestling him and just getting on the ground versus like striking and being on his feet. So I think at that point when he was just shooting for the takedown, he knew that like he had a broken foot and like he is not going to be able to finish the fight unless he's on the ground. So I think he shot for the takedown, wasn't going to get it with one leg.
Magomed Ankalaev, he's from Dagestan, the Sambo background. I
Not,
mean, good luck taking him down, and
especially with one leg.
he was just trying to make a way for him to do anything, and obviously, Magomed Ankalaev is too much of a beast to lose to a guy who's injured, mid fight.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. And I think
Disappointing.
the thing is, though, and I think that Anthony Smith would have been a bad matchup for Ankalaev. I don't know if he would have won, but I think that
honestly, let's talk about the first round, bro.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about it because
like, what's your take on it? Because, bro, I have a fucking take.
What's your take? What's your take?
Dude, I think Anthony Smith, and I'm just gonna say that, and I posted this on TikTok already, and people didn't like it. I love Anthony Smith. I texted you yesterday during the main card. I said, listen, Anthony Smith, for some reason, is like my favorite interview. I can watch this guy's interviews. I just love hearing him talk. I tune in for Anthony Smith all the time. I mean, literally, if you were to look at which fighter I watch most interviews of, it's that guy. Definitely. Why? I can't even tell you exactly.
He's just such a nice guy.
He's such a good guy. He's great at breaking down the sport. But there is one thing about Anthony Smith that fucking gets me a little bit and kind of makes me chuckle. And that's the fact that he really, and this is not just him selling a fight. We know Anthony Smith is not Mr. Promoter, okay? Anthony Smith's not Colby Covington. He's not Connor. He's not really trying to up his fights. He's not trying to promote them. You know, listen, we know what we get when Anthony Smith steps in the cage, a pretty good fight. That being said, I think he is absolutely convinced that he is like the marauder. He's like the Justin Gaethje of the division. Now, I know he recognizes that he's technical, and I think Anthony Smith is technical, more technical than most people give him credit for. That being said, he speaks of himself. He speaks of his game plans as if he's the kind of guy like Yuri Prohaska or Justin Gaethje that's just going to go in there and light up the octagon with fire and just rain.
I'm gonna set the octagon on fire.
Exactly. And that's what he was saying all week. He criticized Adesanya for that. But then here's what happens. He does that against mid-tier UFC fighters, not mid-tier fighters, mid-tier UFC fighters. Okay. He does it against killers. But once he gets into the rankings, he doesn't do it to guys. The only guy he's beaten that's actually impressive as of recent was Ryan Spann. And Ryan Spann is chinny. He's not that good. He's lucky to even have ever been ranked in the first place. He beat Devin Clark and he beat Jimmy Crute with a fluke win. Jimmy Crute is still green in the sport. So when Anthony Smith actually steps up in competition, he's very tentative. I remember seeing the same thing against Gustafsson after Anthony Smith got annihilated by John Jones. By the way, when he fought John Jones, the entire lead up, he was saying exactly what he said before Magomed Ankalaev. He was saying, listen, John Jones doesn't like the fight. I'm going to make him brawl. I'm going to get him out of his box. And if there's anyone that can get John Jones into a fight, it's me. Didn't happen at all. We saw the most tentative Anthony Smith we'll ever see. And you know what? We saw a similar thing in the Gustafsson fight. He ended up submitting Gustafsson. Let's be honest, Gustafsson is washed. Okay, ever since that second John Jones rematch, he's been done. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. He was terrible back then too. Straight up. Hot take. If you don't like it, I don't care. And also, you know what? Anthony Smith, every time he gets up in competition, every time he steps up, bro, I swear, bro, he just shells up. And we saw it. First of all, he lost to Alexander Rakic. That was not an example because he got kicked a few times. Rakic's kicks are absolutely deadly, and he was done after that. But he doesn't go. I'm sorry. There's something when he gets in front of a guy that's really high level, he just doesn't do anything. And it wasn't that he had no options. He just doesn't push forward. He doesn't stick to his word. He says, I'm going to go out there. I'm not going to take a step back. Anthony Smith, within the first couple of minutes of that fight, was taking massive steps. He was not massive steps back. He was taking steps back. He was cruising around. He was dancing on the outside. He was playing it safe. And that's not what he said he was going to do. And he said it himself. Listen, if I'm playing it safe, this ain't the fight that I'm going to win. And that's what happened. And I saw Magomed Ankalaev get ahead of him in that first round. I saw him light up Anthony Smith a few times with some good combinations, couple really slick combinations with leg kicks. I think that's what led to him getting injured. And I think he wasn't fast in there. He didn't look like he was that physically strong. Ankalaev looked bigger. And I think Ankalaev was running away with that first round. And I think it would have just gotten worse for Smith as time. I think it would have been a Ankalaev win regardless. That's my take. I'm the reason why I'm hard on Smith is because I love Smith. I think he's a great fighter. He's one of my favorites. But fuck, man, like if you say all this and that's your go-to game plan, I just feel like, come on, get in there and push forward, because he always says. I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard him say this, but he always says that his best way to succeed in a fight is when he's in the gray zone. The gray zone is what he calls when you're in the pocket, when you're there to be hit. You can hit your opponent, but you could also get hit. That's where Anthony Smith succeeds, and he wasn't in that zone last night. Straight up, he didn't get in that gray zone, and that's why he was not going to do well, in my opinion. You may disagree. I guess, listen, Smith is one of those guys where I'm like, I'm really rooting for him, but he just disappoints sometimes.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, like I said, I think Smith was the kind of matchup for Ankalaev that if he had fought how he did against these middle level guys, then he could have made it difficult for Magomedov. I know he probably would have
Magomed, yes.
But
Magomed.
he could have made it like a bit tricky for him. But
I agree. I
like
think Smith has a chin too. So I
yeah,
think he
like
could
but
have taken a big shot.
like you said, like he came out there hesitant, seeming
Yep.
like he was scared of this guy. When the whole lead up, he was saying this guy isn't dangerous. Like I don't this they talk about this guy like he's Jesus, like a second coming of Jesus. I'm gonna set the octagon on fire.
He gets in the
All
ring and
this,
he treats him like the second coming of Jesus. Like
yeah,
he's
he
like,
did.
oh, you know,
Yeah,
like
exactly. All this stuff. Oh, I gained all this muscle this time for this fight. I need to come in there stronger to win this fight. All this stuff, like, and he comes in there super hesitant, like an Israel Adesanya fight. It's ridiculous because I do think it sucks because we both love Anthony Smith as a fighter, as a guy. He's a great guy. We love listening to him. We love when he's succeeding, but he's just not doing what he's saying he's going to be doing, and
exactly.
it's annoying, because nobody likes Magomed and Uncle
And
Ankalaev. I'm
Goliath,
sorry, no,
except for fucking guys that he trains with, probably.
nobody
And that's
cares
it.
about him. He doesn't say a single word. He's
Yeah.
boring. Like we said, he wins. He's a decision winner. He's a decision
He's
guy,
just
like
this,
Izzy
yeah,
Adesanya. Like there's nothing exciting about him. He's not going to trash talk
yeah.
or anything. So like it just sucks because I really do think Anthony Smith could have caused him problems, but he treated him like the second coming of Jesus. So he lost the fight. Seemed like he broke his foot, but the it was no fluke or anything. Like Ankalaev was chopping at those legs in the first round and the early second, and I think that's what led to the broken leg or foot, whatever. So yeah, it was just unfortunate. But the question is though, do you give Ankalaev the title shot?
Honestly, here's the thing. Now I know that now. Listen, I've been hard on Ankalaev. Like I've said time and time again, he's boring. I've even said he's the pound for pound most boring fighter in the
Yeah,
UFC.
last week.
I think that I was exaggerating a little bit. Like he's not the most entertaining fighter, and he proved exactly what I said he was going to go out there and prove that he is excellent at taking a good fighter like Anthony Smith, who's good, who's not like at the highest level, and neutralizing him, slowing them down, and making them tentative. There's something about Ankalaev's game where he just has this presence in the octagon, and it's overwhelming to the point where his opponents aren't really willing to go in there and implement their game plan. Now, Thiago Santos dropped him. Thiago Santos rocked him, dropped him. He's also been submitted by Paul Craig. However, he's gotten better since. Okay. He has power in his hands too. He's fast. Okay. He's deceivingly fast for a guy of that size. I think he could do really well. And you know what? I don't think he's as boring as I maybe made him out to be. I think he's getting way better. And you know what? I think that he does deserve a title shot because the only other alternative, there's two other alternatives. Number one, you have a rematch between Glover and Yuri, and I don't think I would be upset at that. I know people don't want to see it. They just put on the greatest light heavyweight fight of all time. That being said, they're probably not going to recreate that, and it's probably going to be an early finish. And I think that's a little bit anticlimactic. Listen, I wouldn't be mad, but it's not ideal. The other option is Jan Blachowicz, who is coming off of one really random win over Rakic. I mean, that wasn't really a real decisive win over Rakic. Remember, Rakic got injured. His leg got that was a little bit of a fluky win.
That was a fluky. That's what a fluky leg injury is.
Yeah.
The Anthony Smith was from the kicks completely.
That Anthony Smith got injured from Magomed and Goliath
Yeah.
kicking him or checking his kick. It was one of the two. Either way, that Blachowicz win over Rakic was a little bit weird.
Yeah.
And before that, sure, he defended his title once against Adesanya, but like, let's see Magomed and Goliath in there.
Yeah.
Listen, I'd love to see Blachowicz versus Yuri. That's a great fight, but if you want to be a purist, which sometimes I feel like I'm a purist, I'd like to see the toughest fight and the two best guys. And I think the two best guys in that division right now are Magomed Ankalaev and Yuri Prochazka. Glover Teixeira is a beast. Let's get that straight. I mean, he's still one of the best guys in the division. So is Jan. But why not? Let's see them rematch. I don't mind seeing that rematch.
Exactly. Yeah. I was thinking
I might
about
pick
that.
Glover.
Also, the thing that's what interests me about the Magomedov versus Yuri fight is to see if will Magomed make Yuri like make Yuri completely.
Magomed Ankalaev. Yeah.
Will Ankalaev make change Yuri's game plan into a more hesitant fighter? That's what I want to see. You know,
I listen. I don't think so. Now, Anthony Smith went out there and said he was not going to fall for Magomed Ankalaev's, trickery. He was not going to fall into the bait and just be tentative. There's no way that Yuri Prohaska falls into Magomed Ankalaev's game plan, falls into Magomed Ankalaev's pace. There is absolutely no way, and that's what makes it an interesting fight. Is Magomed Ankalaev's fast? He has power. He's technical. He has great grappling. Is he the grappler that Glover Teixeira is? Hell no. And I don't think he's going to put Yuri in nearly as much danger. That being said, he's a beast. And we saw the ground and pound that he put on Anthony Smith. That's that Sambo ground and pound. He could put anyone in danger. He could put guys out with that. But that's an interesting fight because, that's a KO waiting to happen. I don't think Yuri gives Magomed Ankalaev 5 rounds. That there's no chance that goes the distance. I just don't see it happening.
yeah, and I would favor Yuri in that fight for sure.
I'd favor Yuri. I wouldn't be surprised if Yuri got slept though. I mean it's close. It's close. I'd favor Yuri still, but Magomed is good, man. I'm on that I'm honestly. Listen, I might be putting too much into Smith because I think Smith would get finished by Yuri. Smith got finished by Glover.
Definitely.
I think Smith loses to basically everyone in the top 5 pretty much.
Yeah, probably.
So maybe I'm hyping up Magomed too much. This is recency bias. I'd pick Yuri, of course, but it's a tough fight.
Yeah, I think I'm just after I definitely do want to see that. I mean, I think I'd be cool with either of them. I'd be cool with Jan versus Yuri since it'd be the whole Europe thing. That would be very cool. I think that'd be a good fight, interesting fight.
Let me ask you, who
do
you think wins between Jan Blachowicz and Magomed? That's a tough one.
I would say Magomed. I think so. I think he would. Yeah, I think so. I think he's only getting better. I think Jan is on the decline, unfortunately. So I would I'd go with Ankalaev for sure. But I think, however, I would go with Yuri over Magomed, and I would pick Yuri over Jan. So I think Yuri would beat any of these guys. I just think he didn't have his best fight against Glover. But I also think the other thing about Yuri is how is at any moment he can maybe get finished just because of the way he fights with his hands down all the time. And I don't think he's the best grappler either, as we saw in the Glover fight. So if he goes against a grappler, I think he would probably struggle a lot with. But at any given moment, he could finish someone. So I think that's very dangerous. And I think against a guy like Jan, I think Jan, he's a lot of wear and tear. And I think if Yuri lands on him, lights out right away. And then with Ankalaev, I mean, I just haven't seen enough of him like fighting the top guys to really like say that he could beat Yuri, I guess. Because Yuri's proved it already multiple times. So I would still have to pick Yuri until proven otherwise. So yeah.
Okay. So I guess our fine. So who do you think what do you think Magomed Ankalaev's next step should be? Listen, in my opinion, I think Magomed Ankalaev should get the title shot. If he doesn't, I think that he should then go out and fight. Maybe who does he fight?
Glover. You'd have to call out Glover.
I think his only 2 options is Glover or Jan. Like whoever is getting the title shot, if it's not Magomed, it's got to be Glover or Jan that gets it. And then you have Magomed fight one of the guys that doesn't get it, one of those 2. But I think give him to Yuri. I think he's earned it. Do I want to see him become champion? Hell no. I don't want to see Magomed Ankalaev become champion. He's good. That doesn't mean that I want to see him become champ. That's the worst case scenario. I'd rather Glover be champ. I'd basically rather anyone else be champ. And here's the thing. I was listening to Jesse on Fire discuss this actually. He was talking about how, some fighters, they won't learn English. Now listen, you have a guy like Khabib Nurmagomedov who was excellent in basically everything that he did. At the beginning of his career, his English was terrible. The end of his career, he can basically have a full-on conversation with you. But then there are guys that literally will do a training camp in America and will not be able to speak a lick of English. Magomed Ankalaev is trained in Vegas. He's trained with guys from America in America. Like, bro, at least give us a sentence. Like, can some of these guys, and I understand they're fighters. Okay, that's what they do. They're all about the legacy, they're all about the sport, they're all about the wins, the training. But listen, if you want to help yourself out and you want to make yourself a little bit more money and you want to get yourself the big fights faster, dude, just learn a few sentences. Because if you're fighting in America all the time, because we know that the UFC panders to the American audience, like, have a fucking couple sentences so that you can get on the mic after your post-fight speech and hype up the crowd. Listen, the crowd's going to go crazy if some guy that they know doesn't speak English tries to connect with them a little bit, says something in an accent, in an English, with some English, the crowd would love it, but they just don't do it. And they're just shooting themselves in the foot. And it's so easy. You don't have to learn the whole language. A couple sentences, that's it. Just get on the mic. But that's why Magomed Ankalaev, I don't want him to be champ. It's not because he doesn't speak English. He doesn't speak English, but also outside of that, he doesn't promote himself at all. At all. He doesn't get out there. He's not on social media. He doesn't do anything. Like, I don't want a champion that is just not doing shit.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think
not good for the sport.
I do think he should get the title shot. Like, why does Jan does not deserve the title shot? I'm sorry. Like, he doesn't. He beat Rakic with a fluke leg injury.
He's just entitled because he's a champion, but like he defended it once against a middleweight Israel. He wasn't the most impressive champion.
Yeah, and I think yeah, I would want to see Ankalaev versus Yuri. And I'm just hoping that Yuri wins because Yuri as a champion, I love him as a champion. He posts on his Instagram. He's a very relatable guy. He's funny. He's just everything.
He's got that like old school martial arts thing, and like
just a great dude.
He's kind of a goofy character too. He's interesting. Like, he's really marketable, and he doesn't have to be a trash talker. He doesn't have to be a big English speaker, but like, he knows a tiny bit of English, and you know what? He's a character. So, we at MMA Dynasty, we want Yuri Prochazka as champion.
Definitely.
We're gonna ride with Yuri Prochazka. We're not gonna give biased predictions though. We're both picking Yuri to win that fight, but I guess by elimination, I think that Magomed Ankalaev should be the next guy. What's next for Anthony Smith? I think you throw him down the rankings.
I hate to say it, but
what else is next for him?
I think he should retire.
Whoa, what? Dude, are you for real?
I love Anthony Smith.
Damn.
And the reason I'm saying this is because I do love him.
Oh god.
He's his late 30s. He's fought over 50 fights. Like,
is he really late 30s?
Yes. Let's look it up right now, but I'm pretty sure he's Anthony Smith. Yeah, he's 34, but he's fought over 50 fights.
34. He's not that old.
But he's fought over 50 fights.
True, but like, listen, I don't think he's ever going to be champion, but like, to retire is a little crazy.
But the thing is, though, about that is that
funny.
I don't see him getting another, like, he's going to be sliding down the rankings and all that. Like, what's the point of just putting your body on the line anymore? Especially if you're a great, like, commentator, like
good
podcaster, like he's great at what he does. Like, I don't like he may be better off doing that than taking more damage.
Okay, well, let me ask you this to play devil's advocate. If there's any guy at light heavyweight who you think would be an interesting fight, who would it be? First of all, I wouldn't want to feed Smith to some up and coming beast
Yeah. That's
That
what I'm
being,
worried that they're gonna do. That's what I'm
I
worried they're gonna do.
I hope not. I think they might put him in the main event position, maybe on a pay-per-view. Let's look at the light heavyweight
Yeah,
rankings.
let's pull it up. Let's pull it up. Because they already fed him to like an
Let's
up and
look at the
comer
rankings.
in on Goliath.
Okay, so obviously Yuri Prohaska at the top. So let's see. Um, and right away we'll be able to determine who Anthony Smith should fight next. Okay, so perfect. What I honestly think there are two great fights for Anthony Smith. One is Thiago Santos. I know
That's what I
Thiago
was
Santos
thinking.
is fighting. He's fighting next weekend against Jamal Hill, and I that's an excellent fight, by the way. Jamal Hill, Thiago Santos, great fight. I'm done seeing Thiago Santos in main events. Get him out of the main event slot. He's done too many main events, and he's stunk up too many main events too. He used to be way more entertaining back in the day. After the John Jones fight, his movement was limited. He's never been the same after all the surgeries. I don't want to see him in main event slots anyway. But listen, Thiago Santos, Anthony Smith rematch. If Thiago Santos loses, if that doesn't happen, Dominic Reyes, Anthony Smith. Let's get that. Dominic Reyes has not fought since the Yuri Prohaska KO. I'd love to see Dominic Reyes and Anthony Smith go at it.
Yeah, I think either of those ones would be great. Honestly, I like you get the Thiago Santos, who in my opinion, I think he's gonna lose this coming week.
Yeah.
So you get both guys coming off a loss. I think that's a good matchup. Thiago Santos passes his prime, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Anthony Smith also passes prime, so I think that makes a lot of sense. Dominic Reyes, like you said, hasn't fought in 2 years. I'm sure he wants to make a comeback fight, but he doesn't know what would make sense for him. And I think Anthony Smith, both guys need a win, so that would definitely be interesting. I also think maybe Paul Craig. I don't know.
Paul Craig would be great.
Yeah, I think
Listen,
that would be interesting fight too.
that would be a great fight.
I think any of those fights would be interesting. But I do like no disrespect to Anthony Smith, but I think he should retire. But that's just my opinion though.
Fair
Because
enough.
I could see him on like I could see him as being like one of those Daniel Cormier, Michael Bisping, one of those guys. So, and
Yeah.
I think if you have a choice, like not everyone has the talent like that, you know? So I think when you're a guy like him who has a talent like that, who's on his decline in his career, towards the end of his career, fought over 50 fights, like I don't really what else does he have to like I just think it's only going down from here. And I think like if you can avoid more head trauma, then do it. That's what I think. But if he does fight, I think Paul Craig, Dominic Reyes, Thiago Santos.
I think those are the fights. Listen, I don't think there's any chance that he retires, but I understand the concern absolutely.
Yeah.
Some other concern that we may have is for Derek Lewis, who got KO'd by Sergey Pavlovich. Now I know a lot of people didn't like the stoppage. I thought it was an early stoppage. That being said, do you really think that wouldn't have been stopped anyway? Because he face planted and Sergey Pavlovich was beating him up badly. I think Derek Lewis would have got. Listen, let's just get this out of the way. I got all my predictions correct, which was pretty sick. 5 for 5 on the main card. But yeah, Derek Lewis KO'd by Sergey Pavlovich. I was a little worried as soon as that fight started because Sergey Pavlovich looked way smaller than Derek Lewis. I think he weighed in significantly under the heavyweight limit.
He weighed in 10 pounds lighter than Derek Lewis.
Damn. And yeah, he doesn't look that big, but he's got the largest reach to height ratio in UFC history, which is very impressive. And he put it on display. I think Derek Lewis should retire. I
agree with you on that.
He's been KO'd a lot in his career. I mean, even before that Tai Tuivasa, before the Cyril Gane, before he went on a tear, he was KO'd early in his career quite a bit. I think he should retire.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you're 37 in the
He's not going to get the belt, bro.
There's no point of taking more damage. Like it just really isn't. Like it's a serious thing. It is. It is a serious thing. I think like there's nothing good could come with him continuing his career, unfortunately. Like
I know. I mean, he's tough, but like,
but
fuck, dude,
he's
that
getting
heavyweight division, you don't want to keep getting KO'd. I mean, heavyweights like they hit.
they hit like trucks.
Yeah,
And also, I think the thing is, like, he's fighting. They keep Derek Lewis is the perfect name for a guy who's coming up. So they're just
exactly.
going to keep feeding him to these guys coming
The
up, and like
gatekeeper.
he's just going to keep getting knocked out like
Yeah,
every single time, and it just I just hate seeing it. I really hate seeing it. I really, really hope that he retires. Not because I don't like him as a fighter. I love Derek Lewis as a
yeah.
fighter, but I just don't want to see him taking more of this damage. So oldest heavyweight on the actually no, he's not the oldest heavyweight on the roster. I think Stipe's 39, but Stipe took a lot less damage than Derek Lewis, so a bit different. But two knockouts this year. Don't want to see him get a third. So I really am hoping that Derek Lewis retires. But
Yes.
yeah, some more stuff from the event. So that we talked about it a little bit in the beginning, but Brandon Moreno, Kai Kara France, did you see his stomach after the fight?
No, what I did
There's
not
a
see.
picture of Kai's stomach, his liver actually, and the thing is completely black and blue. You could
Ooh,
pretty much see the freaking ribs. Absolutely perfectly placed kick.
sounded nasty too, man.
Yeah, when you heard it, like doesn't get better than that. I think Brandon Moreno was saying in the post fight interview that he was looking for that shot the whole fight. After the Davidson Figueiredo fight, the third one, he went back and worked a lot on his kicks, um, like checking kicks, everything. And I think in the whole fight, he was looking for that kick, he said,
Yeah.
and he timed it absolutely perfectly. And he completely shut off. And
That's the thing. There was a couple body shot TKOs in this event. I know that they're all always followed up with some ground and pound, but you had Drew Dober find his body
yeah,
shot KO. Um, bro, a lot of guys came out of this night with some really good looks. I mean, Brennan Moreno getting another win over a big contender.
that was
Um,
amazing.
little bit of a weird situation because you had Alejandro Pantoja. You had him win by submission. I think that was a statement. I mean, you
Oh
know,
wow, yeah,
he was
that was
supposed to get
impressive.
a title shot against Figueiredo before the trilogy with Brandon Moreno. Wait a second. Hold on. I think he was supposed to get a title shot with Brandon Moreno before the
Yeah,
trilogy. They
yeah,
didn't give it to him. They gave it to Figueiredo. And I think he went out there and said, okay, you don't think you've seen enough? Watch this. Like, you think I need to finish? Watch this. And bro, that was a fuck you type of performance from
oh yeah,
Alejandro Pantoja. I really like that. I mean, he's a beast. Submitted him so quickly. I mean, when you take someone's back and you're a dominant grappler and you take their back in the first round when you're dry, there's no sweat. That's basically the equivalent of like getting a big flush knockdown in the first round. You pretty much got them on the ropes. And what do you do in that situation? Because you kind of have to make that fourth fight because Brandon Moreno just won the interim title fight, and that's what the UFC wants. They're definitely going to make it. I think because Brandon Moreno just took a lot of damage. Figueiredo's still healing up. Is Pantoja just going to wait? I think that the UFC should just let him wait, or maybe have him be a backup, and then secure him a title shot. I think he's done what he needed to do.
yeah. I agree with you. That was impressive when he went out there swinging with a beast like Perez. It was very
Yeah,
very impressive. Like I was like, what is he doing? But then he clipped him a couple times, got in his back, and after that, like you said, if you get on someone's back in the first round, it's pretty much over. He got him in he got on his back, and he was turned like this,
yeah,
like
yeah.
looking at his face, and like
Franken.
some people said, like the announcers were like, it was a bit early to tap. But when your face is getting when
Yeah,
you
I know.
turned your head like this, getting like completely like strangled, like that freaking like that's kills, just as bad as on if it's on your neck. So I don't blame him for tapping like that. That was seemed very tight. So extremely impressive win. And I just think any other time he would have gotten a title shot. But because of the situation, I don't think he's going to get one. And I think, like you said, Brandon Moreno took a lot of damage. Figueiredo doesn't seem like he's going to be back until at least December or January. So we may have to wait anyway for that. But yeah, like what do you the thing it's tough situation. Like what do you do? Because he's definitely earned the title shot.
They either put him against Kai Kara France or that's it.
No, it doesn't make sense. There's
It
nothing to
doesn't make
gain for
sense.
Kai, like so I think he just has to wait around, which is unfortunate, and probably get the title shot in maybe May or something,
Yeah.
And that's assuming that there's not anybody, neither of the people in that fight take a lot of damage.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's an unfortunate situation because he definitely did earn his chance at a title shot, but I guess he's just gonna have to wait. But who would you favor in that fourth fight?
Honestly, I'd still favor. Honestly, it's tough because Figueiredo, he won the last one. Ah, man, I don't know. That's tough because Brandon Moreno's the younger man, but Figueiredo
He's a beast.
won decisively last time. I think I'd pick I think I'd pick Brandon Moreno
Yeah,
just
I
because
would.
he's
I would
the
also
fourth
pick.
fight and he's the younger man. I that's the reason I picked him last time, even though he came off of a dominant win against Figueiredo. I'm still picking Moreno, even though
Yeah, I
Figueiredo
would. I
came
would
out
pick
with
Moreno
a
also because
beautiful fight.
no, I would pick Moreno, but I personally I think Figueroa won the first fight. That's what I thought.
I think he's up 2-1, but they
Yeah,
gave
I
it a
think he's
draw.
up 2-1, but they called it a draw, so whatever, no problem with that. Moreno had a really impressive fight in the second fight. Figueroa dominated in the third fight. People were saying it was robbery, and there's no way it was a robbery. He was wobbling him like multiple times each round. So, but in the fourth fight, I would probably pick Moreno. He's young, getting better. He's only 28 years old, which is freaking crazy. He's the chance to lead
Mhm.
this division for the next 5, 6 years. So, Figueiredo's 34, just had an injury, recovering from it. So, I think he's on the decline. So, I would pick Moreno on that in the next fight. But who knows? With these guys, it can go either way. It's so tricky to predict it. But how about that promo though? That promo was so cool. Honestly, couldn't have
They
done it any better.
almost didn't let it happen, bro. They were trying to like fucking negotiate. I'm like, dude, get this guy in the ring. Are you trying to sell pay-per-views or what? Get him in the ring. What is the negotiation tactic about? They finally let him in. They had a great moment. Moreno was being so nice, of course. Like, I'm gonna be real. Like, I'm not a fan of Moreno's. Like, I like him. He's a hardworking guy. He's motivating because he's obviously done a lot in his career. He's won the belt. He has humble beginnings. I get it, but like, I just think he's a little bit too cringe, bro. Like, he's too. I think he just try. I don't know. I don't know.
He's too nice. He's too
He's
nice. And
it's not even that. It's not. I guess I don't know because I can't really hate on anyone for being too nice, but he's just kind of annoying. I don't
yeah,
know what it
I
is. I just don't.
I agree with you on that. And I wanted Kyle
Yeah,
to win that fight, to be honest with you. But you can't
yeah,
start to hate him, but I do think he's a little
yeah.
bit annoying. Like I think you're fighting a guy for the fourth time.
He'll never talk shit. Like he'll
You
never
gotta
talk
talk a
shit.
little bit of shit. Like, come on,
I
like
mean, Figueredo is literally an asshole to you. You could say something that you
by
justify.
the way, that was funny. In January,
Yeah,
when they had the press conference, he's like, Brandon Moreno, a little crybaby or something like that.
exactly.
That was
And
hilarious. I love that. And I was hoping that when Figueredo went up, you know how he went up, they
yeah,
started walking. He seemed so like like he seemed like he was gonna like stare him down, all that shit. And then he went in and literally like shook his hand and like just like went like put his
yeah.
arm around him. I didn't like that. I get it was just his moment, but let's hype the fight up even more, like
I
stare him
know.
down, make this like get the intensity up.
I know. Brandon Moreno, you should have been like, Figueredo, you're taking everything I work for, pussy. Come on, let's go. We can do it right now. We can do it right here. That would have been
That would have
great.
been amazing. But either way, it was very
Yeah.
cool promo. I think people
Just
will
just don't put them on an Adesanya card. God
please,
forbid, bro.
please
Get
don't.
them on a
Please
good
don't.
card.
Put them on a good card. Maybe with if Charles wins
Dude,
over,
if Charles beats Islam, I'd love to see Figueiredo Moreno co-main event in Brazil with
and then
Charles.
maybe Charles versus Connor.
Charles Connor in
Damn,
Brazil.
damn.
That would be crazy. I don't think they're gonna have Connor fight in Brazil. I don't think they're gonna I mean we could talk about Connor all day, but like I don't think Connor takes that fight in Brazil. I don't think Connor takes that fight, bro. I think I hope listen, I don't want to see that fight. I just think he's
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, let's talk about some other big news. Um, Jake Paul's fight fell through, and initially I was thinking, okay, there might be more to the story. Basically, to summarize it, guys, Hasim Rahman Jr. pulled out of the fight because he couldn't make weight. Okay, he signed a contract to make weight at 200 pounds, and this week he was basically 215 pounds. He has barely lost any weight since he signed the contract, which is about 20 days ago. And the New York State Athletic Commission said, you know what? You're not trying to make the weight. You're not even close. We're not going to, like, what's going on? Jake Paul then offered to have the fight at 205 pounds. And Hasim Rahman Jr. said, no, I can't do that. I can't make the weight. Bro, at first, I legitimately thought, maybe Jake Paul's just telling his side. Maybe he's just making it seem good for him. But no, what really happened is Hasim Rahman Jr. literally did not make the weight because he's just fucking lazy.
Yeah.
Straight up. And dude, fighters make weight. Dude, 15 pounds, 20 pounds for a fighter when you have 3 weeks, that ain't shit. Chael Sonnen said, I know it's Chael Sonnen, but he said, dude, give me 3 hours, maybe 5 hours. I'll make that weight. 15 pounds. You can't do 15 pounds in 3 weeks. That's absolutely pathetic. He should be ashamed of himself. And you know what he said in his response video? He posted something online to have the comments off, of course. But he said, listen, my body couldn't do it. Jake Paul couldn't fight me at a bigger weight. Like, listen, bro, you're the one who signed the contract. Stick to your word. Like, don't sign the contract if you can't make weight. He's always been known for being a little bit lazy, by the way. Yeah. This guy's known for not putting
said it.
Work.
His dad
said at the press conference. Exactly. And he couldn't even lose 15 pounds for the biggest fight of his life. Pathetic.
Yeah.
Pathetic. Straight up.
We know this especially. Like we talked about in the beginning.
We're bodybuilders. Like we know what
we cut weight. 15 pounds is nothing.
Dude, if I was gonna make $1 million for like, and I had to lose 15 pounds, I would do it without question.
And I would do it. I would do that in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I would do that in 2 weeks.
Fuck it, I'll do it in
and
one.
There's no trust, and you guys could we are constantly leaner than Hasim Rahman from the videos I've seen.
Yeah, I'm way more better than that.
We could lose that weight. So I don't get why he's saying his body.
Bro, honestly, I think he's just a lazy. He's just lazy as fuck. Like, what is the reason, bro? He's not even that shredded. Like, no, bro, you can't lose. You know what? It comes down to a few things. Number one, he's not disciplined. He can't stick to a diet, and he's afraid to suffer. Which, in that case, you're a professional athlete. This is your job. This is the biggest moment of your life. You should be ashamed of yourself. The other reason is he's just stubborn as fuck and didn't want to do it. And he's kind of, a little bit scared of the pressure. I'm not saying he's scared of Jake Paul. He could have beat up Jake Paul. We never know. But come on, dude. What the hell? It's pathetic.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Pathetic. Like, fighter. Also, the other thing is like how if with this happening, how do you expect other promotions to work with you in the future? Like how can you expect that? Like you literally lose it's on record saying he got the call from Jake Paul and he was 216 pounds. 3 weeks later, a week before the fight, he weighed 215 pounds. How do you
one fucking pound?
1 pound in 3 weeks? Are you?
And then Jake Paul says, "Bro, fine, we could do it at 205," and he said no to that too. Like a week out, I understand 10 pounds is a lot, but bro, guys do it all the time in combat sports. It's par for the course. Come on,
He's
the biggest night
clearly
of your life.
it's
Just
he
make the weight.
clearly it's clearly not for him. Boxing is clearly not for the guy.
Honestly, it's he shouldn't be in combat sports. That being said, like who knows? Maybe he was worried that if he lost to a YouTuber, it would have been a wrap.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate because you're screwing the other people on the card too. You're not just screwing Jake Paul. You're screwing Amanda Serrano. You're screwing
What
like
do you think about the idea that this is all because they weren't going to sell pay-per-views?
I think that could be part of it, but I think Jake cares about Amanda Serrano truly, and I
Is she
think
still fighting? There's no way
she's not fighting now because of this
she
whole thing.
can't have that.
I
Yeah,
think Jake Paul cares about the people on the undercard, so that even if it doesn't sell as much, he'd rather take the hit than those other people taking the hit. So I think that could have been part of the reason, but I think the real reason was the Ramen Jr. thing. And
yeah.
what Chael Sonnen was saying was, which was a really good point, was he could have went till the point of the fight day to going right before he was going on, and he could have been like, "I'm not going out there unless you guys pay me the full money." And then they would have no choice but to pay him the full money. It's just so they can get the main event going, because boxing, unlike UFC, it's usually one fight people look forward to. The rest people don't really care too much
Yeah,
about.
no one gives a shit about the
Yeah,
undercard or any of that.
yeah. So yeah, that could have been the case. I just think it's unfortunate. I was looking forward to that fight. It was at Madison Square Garden. It could have been a big moment for him in his
Could have
boxing
been
career.
cool. And Tommy Fury pulled out too. So like we'll see who he chooses next.
Yeah, it sucks because also like Jake Paul is in a tricky position where like boxers, there's not many big name boxers in his weight class that he could choose from that'll sell pay-per-views.
Yeah,
But then if he fights an MMA guy, he's gonna get criticized for it. So like it's a tough situation. Like where do you go from here? So
exactly.
we'll see what happens.
Honestly, another thing I wanted to say is I just think that this Jake Paul experiment thing or whatever you want to call it, him switching over to boxing, I think that it's taken a little bit of a hit. Obviously, this has to do with his opponents pulling out. That being said, it also seems like he's not going to be this big pay-per-view star because initially what made it so captivating is that you had this guy that was influencer, YouTuber, some Disney Channel kid who was a punk and wanted to get in the ring and fight guys. And oh, look, he's actually knocking them out. And let's see him fight a guy who's actually fought. Oh, he knocked him out too, but he's been training for a while. This has been his thing for a while. I think people see Jake Paul as, oh, he's a boxer now. And, I think they're kind of, I don't know. I mean, I think the hype and the anticipation is dying down with him a little bit. And that's also due to the fact that who are you going to fight? Like who are you going to fight that we care about?
Yeah,
That's it. Like if at least if you're amazing at boxing, you could fight for belts, you could fight for championships, but like you're not on that level. You have to fight guys that are not on that level, and there's no big names for you. So
yeah,
I think ultimately like he's gonna be a bit of a flop. That being said, like his ego is probably too big for him to fight on a Canelo card or something like that. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I also think people are getting a little sick of the whole thing, perhaps. And I think they're like,
I
this
would have
guy.
watched it. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we'll watch it, but yeah, I mean, it's just in a tricky situation. I think you either fight another MMA guy, get a ton of criticism, probably not even sell any pay-per-views, or you fight a guy who is up and coming boxer, probably similar age, similar size, similar weight, and just not that guy would just not really sell anything because he's just not known. So I think either anything he goes, anywhere he goes, he's not going to sell pay-per-views, in my opinion. And I think unfortunately the whole thing is going to die down, and if
yeah,
it hasn't died down already. So
he could just go to the WWE.
yeah, like his
uh,
brother. Yeah.
who will be the champ by January 2023 in every division? I guess I'll start with you. Let's who do you think is going to be the champ in each division. We don't need to go over the women's. We can just do the men's.
Yeah, fuck that. So flyweight. I am going to pick Brandon Moreno.
Okay.
I think he wins the fourth fight against Davison Figueiredo.
And also, we have to keep into account some of the fights might not happen by the end of the year. So, do
Yeah,
you think that fight happens this year?
I think
I
it happens in December.
okay.
I think it gets done. I think Davison Figueiredo, apparently it was like a finger injury or something. I could be completely wrong, but I think I remember that that's what it was. So I don't know how much longer a finger injury will take. So I'm assuming that he'll be fine by December. So I'm gonna say Marino wins the rematch, the fourth, the what is it even called? Not a trilogy.
It's just the fourth fight.
Fourth fight. I don't know. They've never done it before in UFC, but so I'd say Brandon Moreno wins the fourth fight against Davison Figueiredo, becomes a champion, and reigns for years to come. The second division, bantamweight. I'm gonna say that Aljamain Sterling is still the champion by the start of the 2023 year. I think he beats TJ Dillashaw. I think he beats him easily. Um, Dillashaw is getting older. I know Aljo isn't young either, but his fighting career is young in terms of his fighting career. I think he's only getting better. I think he's becoming a better striker. I think he's too big for Dillashaw. I think he's if he gets a hold of him, I think Dillashaw's not getting out of it. And I think Aljo will be the champ by 2023. Speaking of Aljo, happy birthday, Aljo. It's his
Happy
birthday
birthday to
today.
Aljamain.
So one of our, I'm sure you two, like we'd one of the guys who we'd love to have on the podcast someday. So happy birthday,
Yeah.
Aljo. But back to the topic. Featherweight. I think it's Volk still. No, who's going to beat him? Josh Emmett, like no chance. So I think Volk. However, the thing about Volk is it'll be interesting to see if he goes up to lightweight, and I think he does go up because he's a competitor, and I think he sees that as the big challenge for him, and I think that's what he wants. So I don't think he respects Josh Emmett or Yair Rodriguez. So I think he's gonna go up in a weight class, but I still think he'll be the champion at that point. Um, Lightweight, I got Charles Oliveira. I think he beats Islam Makhachev. I'm gonna say this on record. I think he beats Islam Makhachev quite easily. I think Islam will not be prepared for the kind of fighter Charles is, and I think he finishes him in the first round. So just a quick early prediction. So I think he is the lightweight champion by the start of 2023, and hopefully he gets a fight in Brazil. Welterweight, I'm gonna say Khamzat Chimaev.
Okay,
I
that's
think
that's a bold prediction.
it
Do
is
you
a
think
bold
fight
prediction.
Usman this year?
I think Usman beats Edwards in August. I think he beats him by decision, doesn't take too much damage. I think Chimaev beats Diaz, doesn't take too much damage. I think they booked a fight in December, and I think Chimaev mauls him completely. I think Chimaev mauls him. I don't I don't know any how Usman would beat Chimaev other than like if it goes super late. But
He outlasts him. He outlasts him in the promo. He outlasts him in the negotiation game.
yeah,
He just
if
never
Chimaev,
signed.
however, I wouldn't be surprised if Usman ducks Chimaev
Yeah.
and just like tries is like, oh, I'm gonna go up to
Who knows? Maybe he
205,
retires.
all this shit, maybe retire like we talked about in a previous episode. Um, but I'm gonna say I'm just gonna say it. I think Chimaev is gonna be the champion by 2023, which would be amazing. Middleweight, another I don't even know if it's considered a hot take, but I think Alex Pereira is going to be the champion to start 2023. I think I would take him over Izzy any day, in my opinion. I think it'll be a kickboxing fight, and I think Pereira's power is on another level, and I think he's going to finish out at Adesanya with a left hook. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna say Pereira is going to be the champion by the start of 2023, and I think him and Adesanya will be getting ready for another fight. So a rematch. And then I think light heavyweight, I'm gonna say Yuri Prohaska will still be the champion. I think he'll have defended his belt by then, but against Jan or Magomedov. Magomedov. I'm gonna lie. I'm
Magomed
gonna lie.
Ankalaev.
on Goliath. Sorry, guys. And then for heavyweight, I'm gonna say Francis Ngannou is still the champion at that
Yeah, I
point.
don't think Francis even fights this year,
Yeah,
bro.
I don't think Francis fights this year, and I think because of his injury, the UFC will keep him the champion because of that. Like we talked about in a previous episode, John Jones and Stipe are fighting UFC
Yeah.
281 for the interim belt. And I think one of them will be getting ready to fight Francis by January, February. So that'll be interesting. But Francis at that point will be the champion. So yeah. What about
Yeah.
you?
I agree with honestly, the only thing I disagree with is welterweight. I think that Usman's still going to be the champ, but that's only because I don't think they'll fight this year. I'd see that Usman. I don't think Usman finishes um, Edwards, and I could see him getting injured again in that fight, and I could see him taking some time off and not wanting to fight Khamzat till next year. That being said, if they do fight, I'm picking Chimaev anyway. I just don't see it happening this year. Lightweight, I'm still gonna pick Charles. Um, Bantamweight, I gotta go without. I guess we pretty much agree on everything. Um, so I think that's true. So let's maybe we can go back and forth on the next topic because we pretty much agreed at everything on that. Uh, Top five fights that we're looking forward to most for the rest of 22. So I guess you could say one, and I'll say one, and we'll just go back and forth.
Okay, so I'm gonna steal this from you right away because
I know
I'm
which one
looking
this
forward
is.
to the most. Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev,
Yeah,
Abu Dhabi, UFC 280. I am beyond excited for this fight. So excited.
same.
It
Fuck,
finally we're
such a
gonna
good
see
fight.
Islam against Charles or Khabib against Charles. What would have probably happened
Yeah,
as Islam and Khabib are very similar. Um, I want to see who wins. Like we said, we think Oliveira is gonna win, but who knows? Islam could end up winning. And I want to see if when Charles wins and he calls out Khabib, will Khabib return? That's what I'm wondering. That's what
I
I want.
don't, dude. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. I know people like to discuss it, bro. Habib, he's just uncrackable. Like I feel like he's the kind of guy. Listen, the UFC tried to throw a boatload of money at him to come back, didn't work. He promised his mom, "Listen, this is gonna be my last fight. My dad's dead. I'm not doing this without my father." We know how religious Habib is. I just don't see him doing it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a sport. It's not like a war. There's no serious beef between them. If it was Connor, maybe, but I still don't think so. Oliveira doesn't listen. I think that I don't think Habib ever comes back ever. He could
But
do a grappling match. He has integrity. I think he's got too much integrity. Do I want him to come back? Hell yeah, but like I just don't see it happening.
yeah, well, I mean, I want to
It'd be
see
cool. It'd be
that would
cool.
be cool to just to see the call out and all that stuff.
The,
But
the two the two lightweight goats. First of all, if Charles beats Islam Makhachev, he's the lightweight goat.
oh, undisputed. You can't even argue with it
Yeah,
because like look at the
he
records. Like
yeah,
Charles fought, first of all, before anything, Charles fought Tony Ferguson, who Khabib. Something always happened
never
before
fought.
them fighting. I know he wasn't in his prime, but he was just coming off a loss against Gaethje only. So he was still like thought to be one of the top guys in the division. Beat him. He beat Gaethje, who Khabib beat, but he beat him
Yeah,
quicker. He beat
Chandler, awesome win as
yeah, he
well.
beat Poirier, who Khabib
Kevin
also
Lee,
beat.
bro.
He beat him a quicker also. All he would need is to beat Connor, but we all know Connor isn't the same anymore. So I don't even think that's even going to be impressive.
I
But
mean, if
he
he
would have,
beats Makhachev, that's like
yeah,
holy. That's a
that's like
big
he would have beaten. That's like him beating Khabib. I know
yeah.
that they're not the same, but they're very similar styles. So I think he would for sure have to be considered the lightweight goat. But who knows though? Everyone loves Khabib. Seems to be like everyone seems to love Khabib. Everyone seems to like just go by his dominance,
Yeah,
even though the competition was just not that great. Like he beat Al Quinta for the belt. Like
yeah.
I know that everything went wrong that week, but like, come on, Al Quinta in a title fight. Conor McGregor hasn't didn't fight for 2 years or whatever. Fought Khabib. Not even a wrestler. Khabib won. It took him 4 rounds though to win. Uh, then he beat Dustin Poirier. It took him a few rounds to win, and he wasn't a wrestler either, or grappler. I mean, I know he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he's not a real threat on the ground or anything. Justin Gaethje, I know he's a wrestling background, but we saw how easily Charles submitted him, and it was harder for Khabib to do it. So I just yeah, especially if he beats Islam in like dominant fashion or like in the first round, like it finishes him. Like how can you not say he's the lightweight goat? Like how can
Yeah.
it would have been 13 wins 12 or 13 wins in a row at that point against all top guys, like and finishing every single fight but Tony Ferguson. You'd have to consider him the lightweight goat in that situation. So yeah, but yeah, what do you have as
Well, that's first of all, I know another one that I'm gonna steal from you, and we'll both say this. It's O'Malley versus Piotr Jan. That's gonna be on the same card. That's I mean, listen, we were bound to say both of those fights.
for sure?
So we're both going with that. That's just an excellent fight. I think Piotr Jan's gonna murk O'Malley. I think he's gonna I don't think he listen, he either TKOs him or he beats him up in a decision. But either way, I think O'Malley's going to get beat up badly. Who knows? If it's a slower decision, I won't be surprised. I just want to see how O'Malley fares against the beast that is Piotr Jan. So what's the next fight for you?
John Jones versus Stipe at
Yeah,
UFC 281 at MSG.
big fight.
That's a
That's
huge fight. John Jones return fight, Stipe return fight. I think first we were saying that Stipe was going to win the fight, but as time goes by, I think Jones got it. I think he does. Stipe's 39 years old, hasn't fought in 2 years. Also, John Jones hasn't fought in 3 years, or pretty much 3 years. And I think it won't make it the rust ring. They're gonna have ring rust. Both it won't make a difference. Like one of them isn't gonna feel. One of them isn't gonna be like not rusty. That let's just say that. So I would say they both gained a lot of weight, so they're not gonna be used to their weight.
Yeah,
Stipe apparently looks massive. John Jones, I'm sure, looks massive too. So I think both not used to their weight, and I think the younger guy, John Jones, wins. I think he'll win by decision likely. Um, I think he will dominate. Honestly, I really do. I think Stipe's 39 years old. Like his career is on the decline. I think he's taking a lot of wear. He's a lot of wear and tear. A lot of wear and tear. I know John Jones has fought in more UFC fights, but John Jones doesn't get hit much in his fights. It's one of the best. He gets hit. One of the like we say, Max Holloway gets hit the most. John Jones gets hit the least out of any fighter. So he doesn't have that much wear and tear compared to other guys. So I think the younger, fresher guy wins that fight. But I'm really looking forward to that. Like, and I think that's going to be a fight that sells a ton of pay-per-views, which is going to be great for the UFC. So
yeah. That's a fight that I can't wait to see. If I had to choose another fight, I am gonna try to go with something that's a little less obvious. Obviously we're gonna do fights that are actually, pretty official. So we can't just speculate. I would say Khamzat, but he's not fighting an opponent that I'm really interested in. So I would say Corey Sandhagen, Song Yadong. That is a fight that I can't wait to see. Corey Sandhagen bouncing off of a loss against Piotr Jan that happened in Abu Dhabi last year. Even though he did lose, he looked great in that fight. I still think he won, maybe 2 rounds.
yeah,
I could see Piotr winning 4-1, but either way, he was very competitive in that fight. He's got some of the best and most dangerous striking. He's a very complete fighter. And Song Yadong hits like a truck. Song Yadong's powerful. He's young. He's up and coming. He's great. I just think that this is a Corey Sandhagen. I think Corey Sandhagen is going to show him that there are levels, and I think he's going to show Song Yadong that he's a little bit green. However, Song Yadong's tough. I could still see this being a war, which is why I'm so excited for it. I think Sandhagen wins, but I'm hyped because I just think that's going to be a banger.
yeah.
I think
I think that's
Sandhagen's going to win though.
yeah. I think that's an exciting fight. I mean, to be honest, I was a bit surprised when they booked that.
Same.
as Sanhagen, I believe is number 4 in the
He's
division.
he's high. He's maybe
Yeah,
three.
and I thought that they would book him against a guy like maybe like Dominic Cruz, Marlon Vera, one of those guys. And yeah, but I like the fight regardless. I think it's gonna be an interesting fight. The power versus like I guess the more technical fighter.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it should be a pretty good fight. I think Sanhagen will probably win by decision, but we'll dive more into that fight as the weeks go by, as the weeks come by. But yeah, as and another fight I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna say Dominic Cruz versus Marlon Vera.
That's gonna be a
I'm
banger,
gonna
bro.
say that. I'm excited for that fight. I'm really excited.
Damn. That's the day of my bodybuilding show too, but
Ooh,
thankfully my show and the finals of my show is in the early afternoon in the morning, so I'll be able to watch that
ooh.
and eat food and be relaxed. I can't
Oh,
freaking wait.
that's all. That's exciting. That's
San
exciting.
Diego, that's a great fight. That's going to be a war.
Yeah.
Um, I'm picking Marlon Vera to win. I think Cruz is so good. He's really good. He tuned up um, Pedro Munoz in their last fight. He got dropped in that fight, and I think Vera's unfinishable. Like he's unfinishable. I mean,
So
also when he fought Rob Font like landed an ungodly amount of strikes on Vera's face. He didn't have a single scratch on him. The dude is like a Terminator, and I know he can get hit a lot, but like he's really dangerous, and he has power. He can drop guys. He's big. He's a physical
he's
presence. He's got
unorthodox.
great cardio, unorthodox. I just see him like marching right up to Cruz. I know Cruz is great footwork, but dude, he's gonna find Dominic Cruz's chin of like throughout the 5 rounds. I think he's gonna break him.
Yeah, I think
He's young. He's younger too.
I think it's gonna be unfortunate to see it, but ooh, I think I think Marlon Vera is gonna win that fight by TKO.
I
I
think
think
so too.
maybe in the third round or something. I think Dominic Cruz, absolute legend, greatest bantamweight ever. It's not even a discussion at this point. He's like 36 years old though, and I think Marlon Vera is on the rise. He hits super hard, and I think he's gonna find find an opening in round 3, and I think he's gonna knock him down and finish him with some ground and pound.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think I think I don't think there's much people in that division who could beat Marlon Vera. Honestly, Peter Yan maybe, Aljo, but like who even knows with those guys? Like he's a beast. Like you say, he's a bit hittable, but his cardio's unreal.
I'd like to see a
Super
rematch
hard.
with O'Malley. I
Yeah,
think
that's
O'Malley.
the.
I'd like to see a rematch with
How
O'Malley.
about this is what I want to see. So what if so let's say Marlon Vera wins the fight, O'Malley loses the fight.
I don't think they would make that. I think that Marlon Vera would be too high up the rankings. I think they'd want to give O'Malley a winnable fight.
Yeah.
I think they'd probably pair Vera with the winner of Sanhagen and Song Yadong instead. That being said, who knows? Maybe they want O'Malley to get to the belt anyway. But like if he loses to Piotr Jan's getting the next title shot. If O'Malley, let's say he does get by Vera, he's up there with Jan. He's up there with Aljo. I think he gets beat by those guys. So I don't think the UFC would be in any rush to put O'Malley in a number one contender spot. And I think that that's what Cruz and Vera are fighting for. I think in a few weeks they're fighting for a number one contender shot.
Damn.
So
Damn.
I don't I want them to make that O'Malley fight, but I just don't see it happening. I hope it does.
So you're saying if
If
the
O'Malley
winner
loses,
so the okay, so you're saying if the O'Malley fight is not the number one contender fight, or are you saying it is the
maybe he could fight the loser of this. How about that? I think O'Malley could fight Dominic Cruz if he loses,
okay.
or
Okay,
he could
yeah.
fight Vera if Vera loses.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, no,
Because
I
I'm
think
I'm not
we're
giving O'Malley a chance in that Jan fight. The more I think about it, I just don't give him a
the
dude.
thing is
Jan is so Jan is he grew up he grew up working on like ships in Siberia at like as like a 5-year-old. He was stacking crates on ships. He's
beast.
just too tough. He's too hard.
He's a
I think O'Malley is just listen, he's tough. He's a great fighter, but like he's just you have a guy who's out here vlogging his trip to Miami and smoking all the time, and then you have Piotr Jan who's just
working.
always working. I just can't. And Piotr Jan on top of that is just he's got amazing technique too,
Yeah.
and he's a great grappler as well. So I just don't see it.
Yeah, and I don't get the appeal to that fight. Like we talked about last week. Like, look,
Yeah.
a 3-round match gives Sean the best chance of winning.
Yes.
But
Yes.
at the same time, if he loses, he's not going up a ranking. He's going to be number 13 still. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, or whatever he is. Like, I just think it's a like there's just not much to gain from this fight.
Honestly, bro, I'm just gonna say it. I don't mean to jinx it. I think that fight's gonna fall through. I just have a feeling that we're not actually gonna see it. That's the worst. It sucks. I want to see it now, but like,
Why do you
I'm
think
telling
that?
you, I just I just have a feeling that that fight is just too good to be true. I mean, it's not that great because I think it's a bit of a mismatch, but I just have a feeling that, in October or it's September, we're going to see some posts on our Instagram feed saying O'Malley out or Piotr Jan visa issue. You know what I mean? I could see it
I
happening.
have a theory now. After you said that, I have a theory. I'm gonna put this on record. We're
Okay.
gonna see what happens. TJ Dillashaw gets popped for a steroid, isn't allowed to fight in the main event. Peter Yan goes up to fight in the main event, and they book Sean against a random opponent.
Honestly, I could see that happening. I don't think TJ's gonna pop though, but I could see, bro. I know he's popped once. I think he's gonna play it really safe. But I think that's interesting. That's an interesting. If that did happen, that'd be perfect. If that did
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, yeah.
Uh
Or he gets hurt or something. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I can definitely. I agree with you. I can see that not happening, and because I mean, or yeah, or someone in the main event like falling through or something. I don't, or the co-main falling through. But yeah, you're right. What?
another fight. I
Yeah,
would
we
say
have one more. We've got one more, I
yeah,
believe.
well, let's do one more each. Paulo Costa and Luke Rockhold.
Ooh,
I can't wait for that.
yeah,
I just see Rockhold getting KO'd, unfortunately.
yeah,
I want him to win. I like Paulo Costa. I love his fight style. He's a great fighter. He's a beast. I love it. He's very entertaining. Brings on great fights. But I want Rockhold to win. Like I've watched Rockhold get knocked out so much. I've watched him hype himself up and lose. It'd be really cool to see him actually get a win. I just don't see it happening.
no. And I think I think they set that fight up for Paulo Costa to get a knockout and win. I believe that that's what the fight was set up for. It
And
was
Rockhold
almost
took
like
it though. Like he's such a beat. Like
yeah, like
I respect it, man.
I respect it, and I think it reminds me of the situation when Francis Ngannou was coming up, and they gave him he fought what's his name?
Kane
No,
Junior.
the guy who got knocked out a bunch towards the end of his career. I'm blinking on his name.
Junior Dos
He's
Santos.
got a long name. He's got a long name. Alex Oak
Oh, fucking a. The guy he
France.
used to be a champ, the Russian
I don't
guy.
know if he was in it. He was a kid. He fought a bunch in kickboxing or Muay Thai. Francis Ngannou. Oh, I'm blinking. Ngannou.
Rosenstrike, bro.
No,
You're talking about the vet, the pit bull. Oh,
no.
Arlovsky. Ar-
Alistair Overeem.
oh,
Yes, this is what reminds me of the Francis Ngannou Overeem fight. It's a fight that's set up for them to get a finish. They take a guy like Costa, who's
I think
coming
they
out
want Costa to get close to that because Costa's been a bad employee, bro. He's missed weight. He didn't deliver for the Adesanya fight. He's been a disappointment. I think if anything, I think they want Costa to do well because He's a banger. He puts on great fights. That being said, he's been a shit cunt. Let's be honest. He's missed weight by like 20 pounds. He was the biggest disappointment against Adesanya when we all, a lot of us thought he was going to win that. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting fight. I mean,
I can't wait. That's on the Usman card. That's a big card, by the way.
yeah.
They also have we also got Marab and Aldo, which is another fight.
That's the fight I was gonna say. That was my last fight I was gonna say. Aldo
Who
versus
do you
Marab.
have in that? I'm going with Aldo. I think Aldo is a fucking beast, bro. And at this bantamweight, dude. Also, check this out. Aldo, I think he has some of the best takedown defense of all time. So I think that, listen, Aldo's striking is so technical. I know Marab hits hard, but Marab almost got finished by Marlon Moraes, and Marlon Moraes has got good striking, but he's also got the worst chin, one of the worst chins in the UFC history, towards the end of his career. And he was going to war with Marlon. I just think Aldo whoops him up for 3 rounds. But yeah,
I got Marab.
You think he's going to take him down?
I don't think he takes him down. I think he knocks out Aldo. I think Marab finishes.
What about what do you see that leads to that? Like, because all those strikes.
What I see.
Remember, who did Aldo beat? Rob Font was his win.
He beat Marlon Vera too. Marab
he's beat Vera. He's beat.
Marab also has got a lot more power than Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. We got a bit connection issue. Sorry, guys. Marab has a lot more power than Rob Font, though. And I think Aldo, yeah, you said he's one of the greatest takedown defense. He's some of the best takedown defense out of anybody. But he still has to focus on Marab's takedowns. And I see him like focusing on the takedowns and Marab finding an overhand right, clipping. Okay. And I think him going to the ground and finishing him by ground and pound. The Aldo thing. I
could see it. I mean, it's not like Aldo's invincible. He's been beat, but the thing is, he's only been beat by the very best. That, Connor in his heyday, Volkanovski, Max, and then Petr Yan.
Yeah.
Other than that, Aldo's beat literally everyone else.
I just think he's good though.
But here's the thing about Aldo. I know, like, first of all, he's only, in my opinion, he's only lost 1 fight at bantamweight. That was against Petr Yan. His first fight at bantamweight, he lost on paper, was against Marlon Moraes. He won that fight. I think all the fans know he won that fight. That was a big robbery. Then he beat Marlon Vera after the Petr Yan fight, and then he beat Rob Font. Those are 2 really good wins. Rob Font's one of the best strikers in that division. Marlon Vera, we know how tough he is. And given that Aldo is one of the best anti-wrestlers that the UFC has ever seen, listen, I could see Marab, the younger guy who's a little bit fresher, getting that win, but I think it's very unlikely. I think this is a tailor-made matchup for Aldo, and I still think Aldo is kicking ass because he's not that old. He's got a lot of years on him, but I think that the Aldo that we're seeing today is arguably one of the best Aldos that we've ever seen, because even when he was at featherweight as champion, he's made improvements. His striking, I mean, think about it. He dropped down a weight class. Guys are faster at bantamweight. Guys are quicker. They might even be more technical, and he's not only succeeding, but he's beating the top guys. I think I don't think he's missed a step. I think people say that he's way past his prime. I disagree. I think Aldo is honestly one of the most impressive fighters ever. I think Aldo's top 15 all time greats, and he's still kicking ass. So I think Marab, I think it's gonna be a big step up.
Yeah,
but if it happens,
I'm a big Marab guy. I mean, like I
like him too.
I think he's on the rise. I like his. I don't know if you've heard him talk.
He's good. He's very close with Aljo. They're like really close teammates. Possibly we get him on the podcast, both of
Love
them.
that.
Um, I like Marab. I think we'll see. We'll see. We'll
We'll
have like a
see.
friendly bet. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
To segue to another topic, actually, speaking of getting people on the podcast, just before we end the podcast, I wanted to do a little something something fun for us to do, and just go over the 5 people we would love to have on the podcast.
first things first. Have I mean, I could just come up with a bunch off the top of the dome right now. Number one, I would say the MMA Guru. I think he'd be the best podcast. That dude, let's be honest, he'd pull in so many views. He's got such a fan base. He's never done an interview, so that alone would be massive to get him on. The Weasel, I really like the Weasel. Jesse on Fire,
Love that
I'd like
guy.
the Weasel.
That guy.
Jesse on Fire, I'd love to have him on. Um, I've actually asked him a question over DM. He's responded a few times, so
Oh
he
shit.
seems like a really cool guy. And then let's see, if I'm trying to think about fighters, uh, Colby, that'd be sick. I'd love a Colby Covington interview. That'd be pretty funny. Uh, and if I had to pick another fighter or just anyone in general, um, I think that I would probably go with I Patty Pimblett, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I mean I could say Connor, but that's not real.
Yeah.
Fuck it, Connor. I'll say Connor.
Yeah.
So
For
that's
me,
that's Connor, MMA Guru, Weasel, Jesse on Fire, and Colby.
I would go with Guru. Guru
Yeah,
for sure.
Gurus. Yeah,
I would
Guru.
go with Jesse on Fire. I'm gonna go with Aljo.
Aljamain. Okay.
Big
He's
Aljo fan.
local, bro. We could get him.
Yeah,
Honestly, honestly, I'm just gonna say it, dude. We can get Aljamain Sterling. That could be like,
that would be
bro,
awesome. That
bro,
would
we
be
can do
awesome.
it.
And I've been like after before the second Peter Yan fight, I was one of the only people being like, I think Aljo is gonna win this
Oh,
fight.
I'm telling you, dude, I'm telling you, I'm gonna send him a message. He might read it, bro.
Yeah, that would be great. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
I think he will do it.
Aljo, I love he has his own podcast. I really enjoy listening to it. So I would say, and
Also, we both like a lot of guys might hate on him or something, but like he beat Piotr
yeah,
Jan, which
he
is fucking big.
clearly
So
beat him. He clearly
he
beat
beat
him.
him, yeah, 3 rounds to two,
He's
straight up.
and I think one of them was a 10-8. But
Yeah.
besides the point, Aljo would be amazing. He's
Who else?
um hmm. All right. I would say so Jesse on Fire, Aljo, MMA Guru. I would
Fighters.
say
Any other fighters? How about Magomed and Goliath?
that guy.
Yeah.
Anthony Smith, I'm gonna
Yeah.
say.
That would be a good
Anthony
one.
Smith as number 4. We talked about it. We've talked about it multiple times. Great guy. Love his commentary, his podcast, all that. Think he's he's a great talker, you know. He's great fighter, great guy, all that. Lastly, I'm gonna say this is tricky. This is tricky because I'm debating like what would be better, a fighter or like someone who covers the sport. So I'm gonna go with Aria Hawani.
That would be a good one.
Aria
He
Hawani.
doesn't do that many interviews. I like that one.
Yeah,
That'd be
I
sick.
like it. I think he's a guy who I know a lot of people hate on him, but I think I like listening to him, you know, like I listen to his MMA hour
Yeah.
all the time. It's
Love
always
his interviews.
it's great interviews, all that.
He's a little bit he's always against the UFC though. But
Yeah,
that's
he shits on the UFC whenever he's a chance. But
yeah.
at least he gives his opinion, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I like. You know, I
I
like
like that too.
we talked about it many times. We don't like the guys who walk on eggshells. I know that some guys who work for the UFC or associated with the UFC can't really speak their mind as much as like we do, or like a guy like Ariel does. But I always just respect guys who just speak their mind, even if it's crazy, you know. Like I don't know, I don't really think Arya anything he says is absolutely crazy, but I respect that he speaks his mind. I think he knows what he's talking about, you know, for the most part. So I think that'd be an interesting thing. But in my so just give a recap. My top five people I'd like to have on the podcast are MMA Guru, Jesse on Fire, Aljamain Sterling, Anthony Smith, and Ariel Hawani. So
It's a good list.
any of those guys.
Great
So
list.
yeah, I mean, excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. One more thing actually to just finish it, wrap up the podcast before we wrap up. Did you notice Joe Rogan's commentary last night being absolute garbage?
Honestly, I didn't really notice that much. What was he going on? I mean, I've been a little bit like cringed out by Joe Rogan and some of the commentators before. Michael Bisping, I don't like Michael Bisping on the
Really?
comment.
Really?
I don't like, no,
I
not at
like
all.
Bisping. I like him. At first I didn't.
I think he gets sidetracked too much. Like
Yeah.
for commentary, I I prefer Joe over Bisbing. Listen, Joe Rogan was the one thing I did catch is he kept asking questions like, has he done this? Has he done like, bro, do your fucking homework.
Yeah.
Like, do you care about this job at all anymore? He was
Yeah.
asking questions that you should know, basic questions. Like he asked, has Kai Kara France fought a 5 rounder before? And like, no, he hasn't. He's not been in a championship fight. He's never main evented. That's the only info you need to know on that. And other than that, Bisbing I don't like because he gets sidetracked too much. I mean, there will be a finish going on, and Bisbing will be talking about the time he got ice cream and the city that they're in or some shit and
Yeah.
how good it was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I what I noticed was like you said, he was asking a lot of questions. He was giving wrong information.
yeah,
Like this is the one example I thought of. Like he said something about the Brandon Moreno Figurino fight, or like it being their third fight or something.
Mhm.
And also saying something about I believe about the title being the real title or something. I could be
Yeah.
wrong.
Being the real title. Yeah,
Something about that. Just a lot of like wrong information. A lot of he was asking a lot of questions. Like you're a commentator, do your homework. Like
yeah.
you need to ask other people questions. So yeah, I think Joe Rogan in the past has been great, but at this point, I just think he's done with it. I don't think he's fully in it anymore. And I
He's
think
clearly not fully in it. He's
clearly not if he's asking those questions that 5 years ago he would not have been asking.
so many people would
Um,
want that, but he's Joe. Joe Rogan's got such a
Legendary
platform.
guy.
Yeah,
Also, I like Daniel Cormier. I would say I like his.
I like Cormier.
I like
He's
Cormier.
good for wrestling too because he's got so much knowledge when it comes to
Yeah,
wrestling.
Cormier. I like Dominic Cruz. I even like. I like
Um,
this. I like Bisping personally. I know you don't,
no, I like him. I
but
like his
in terms of
personality,
commentary, in terms
but
of
listen. I like sometimes I like Bisbing for like color commentary.
yeah,
You know, he's he's a little bit brash with the statements, and I like that at times. Just
yeah,
sometimes it's just way too much.
yeah.
Like sometimes he just goes overboard and he totes the line, and I just let's he just strays away from the fight sometimes, and it's just a little bit annoying. And he says the same shit sometime over and over and over again, which just kind of gets old. I like Bisbing, but like I think, listen, the best commentators team, in my opinion, would be Daniel Cormier, um, I would say Paul Felder and John Anik, or Daniel Cormier, Dominic Cruz, and John Anik.
Ooh, I
Those
like
are,
John Anik a lot on it.
yeah,
I
I
like
like
him a
those
lot on it.
ones.
Actually, so I know we're going way over, but a question I was thinking about all week, actually, and I think a lot of people were thinking about, should Daniel Cormier be allowed to call UFC 280 for Islam Makhachev's fight?
Um, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, they have
I
another option. Like, no. Listen, I understand that Daniel Cormier could sit here and campaign about how he's not going to be biased, how it's a job, and he has to remove that. But like, bro, you're gonna be biased. You want him to win. You've trained with this guy for a while. You're gonna be biased. If it goes to a decision, we don't need Daniel Cormier to fucking change people's mind. Let's not have that. I don't like that idea at all.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think that it's been a topic ever since they
Yeah, definitely
announced
not.
the
It should
fight.
be Paul Felder, it should be John Anik, and it should be Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, nobody bias in that, which I
Or
like.
Bisbing. Fuck it. Get
Or
Bisbing in
Bisping, or
there.
yeah, or even Joe Rogan. Honestly, like
Even
Joe Rogan could have just had an off night or something, but I think yeah, I think like look, look, I know Bisping called Tom Aspinall's fight, but Bisping isn't as close with Tom as Cormier is
He
with
wasn't
Islam.
like training partners with him for
Yeah,
10
they're
years.
they're
Exactly.
practically Cormier and Islam and Khabib. They're practically, honestly, like close to brothers on at
Yeah,
this
they
point,
are.
because like if you look back, Khabib was in the locker room of Cormier before he
Yeah.
fought John Jones for the second time. They're like in each other's locker rooms before like pretty much all their fights, and like you just can't commentate for a teammate. Like I'm sorry, you even
Yeah.
if you're like even if you're like one of the main commentators, which Daniel
Unless it's like a
is.
smaller promotion where they might not have a choice, but if you have a choice, if you have other commentators, no chance.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't. I really hope. I like Daniel Cormier a lot, but he should not be calling Islam's fight.
No,
He shouldn't. They're too close. Yeah. So
I
yeah.
agree. All right. Well, guys, that's going to wrap up the podcast, MMA Dynasty. Until next time. And you know what? You watch this video, if you're seeing the outro, leave some questions in the comments and we'll
Yep.
answer them on the next podcast.
Sure.
So I am going to get my meal cooked. I'm going to cook my meal. So I can't wait for that. And I hope that everyone has a good week.
Yeah. Everyone have a great week. It's been a great episode. Especially if you guys haven't, if you're just like scrolling through, I recommend watching this full episode. We covered a ton. So
Covered it all.
one of the most interesting episodes, maybe the most interesting out of all of ours. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. I hope everybody has a great week, and leave us some questions down below. We want to answer all of them. So I hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you guys next week.